I love the chase and the hunt, and I set the pace when I'm running. I always take what I want and I always give it 100. Don't need a bank, no I'm funded. Play the game like it's nothing. I'm always thankful for something. Don't take for granted, stay humble. Now wake up! It's time to
What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Comment Riders. I'm your host. My name is Josh Meek, the Uber Geek. We're here to talk about Kamen Rider Geats episode 25. Joining me, as always, for this important discussion is my good friend, Toby Tobes. What's up, Toby?
Hello, Joshua. How are you tonight?
I am quite good. Thank you for your formal speaking. No, I'm doing great. You and I were talking about terrestrial radio recently on one of these shows, and I've been listening to a fair bit of terrestrial radio recently. So I wanted to report back my findings.
Oh, please do. Was the same song on every 15 minutes?
Actually, no. So we have a station here where it used to play like current rock and alternative rock hits. Like it was a little bit of current stuff, which was like kind of cool because it was like some of the stuff I was just listening to anyway. But apparently that did terribly because now it's not that station anymore. Now that station, it's like alternative hits from like the 90s and early 2000s.
Perfect.
Which is exactly what I want out of radio.
Right
Like,
in the wheelhouse.
Right. Don't play anything new. Play only things that came out when I was in high school. Let's freaking go. Like put Evanescence on this thing. Let's jam. So there's been some good stuff on that station for sure. So I've been having that on in the car more than like putting on my own music, just because seeing what all that they play. And I'm on board with nearly all of it, except this station has made me realize that there was a point in the early 2000s where we white people got very into Coldplay. And like it's a confusing time, I feel like.
Can you name a Coldplay song? Because I know who they are, but I cannot picture one off the top of my head. Thank God.
Yellow is the really annoying one.
How's it go?
Look at the stars, look how they shine for you, and all the things you do, and it was all yellow. That's one of the verses from Yellow, or the chorus rather. And then there's a song that's like Vida la something.
That name sounds more familiar to me.
Vida la Vis or something like I don't know. People were just very into Coldplay. I've heard multiple Coldplay songs on this channel, and I haven't thought about Coldplay, I think, in 10 years. And thinking about them now, it feels like putting on a wet blanket. Like, I don't know. It's just not good. I don't have good feelings. The songs aren't good. I don't know why people were so into Coldplay. But like deeply, deeply people were into Coldplay.
Do you think we loved the UK at that point? And we wanted to bring some culture into our lives?
Maybe, yeah. It also probably hit me at the perfect time because I feel like the height of Coldplay's popularity was also right when I was in college. So it was when people would have been like really douchey about loving Coldplay the most, I think. I was in a band in college and we played a Coldplay song. We covered Yellow, I think. I was not excited about it, but we did it.
Were you in a ska band?
Kind of. Yeah.
Was this a ska band? Did you play the horns?
I did play the saxophone. Yeah. Yeah. I didn't know we were gonna.
We're swinging for the fences. Josh, did you know that Coldplay's kid is named Apple?
I did. Is the guy from Coldplay named Coldplay? Is his name like John Coldplay?
Chris Coldplay?
Is that really his name? Chris Coldplay?
No. Isn't it Chris Martin?
I have no idea. I know nothing about Coldplay.
Come on, man. Wait, how can you be such a super fan?
Toby, I googled the word Coldplay. The first suggestion of people also ask is, why is Coldplay so popular?
It's an excellent question.
Chris Martin, you are correct. Chris Martin.
Because him and Gwyneth Paltrow have a kid named Apple.
Wait,
that child was one of the first I feel like that was
celebrity
the cusp.
baby.
Yes,
yeah,
that was the beginning of the cusp of the celebrity babydom, and we're gonna make the most ridiculous names possible. And for whatever reason, Apple always sticks out to me. That one and Jason Lee's kid is like Inspector Pilot or Pilot Inspector, and that one always stuck out to me too.
That's pretty great. What was Michael Jackson's kid's name?
I mean, the famous one was Blanket.
Blanket, thank you. That was the one I was trying to come up with, was Blanket. Don't name your kid weird stuff. I feel like that's a universal rule.
Take it from me. As a kid with a weird name, look how I turned out. Do you want this for yourself or your kids? No.
Do you want that? And your name's not even that weird, which is the funny part. Like, grand scheme of things, your name is very normal.
I think that's a 2013 problem. Because back when I was growing up, minds were blown. Your name is what? And just it was always downhill. And then people with the jokes, like Toby-Wan Kenobi or Toby or Not to Be, or all of their dumb things, Josh.
Yeah, kids. I think the kids are less awful now than they used to be. Maybe.
I refuse to believe that.
But I definitely I went to school with a kid whose last name was Potter. His first name wasn't even Harry. And all that I ever heard people interact with him with was like Harry Potter jokes. And like, that's a super common last name. And he wasn't even remotely close to a first name of Harry. And he just constantly got like, you're a wizard, George. Like, it's not, what are we doing?
See, like, I feel like that's what happens especially when as you grow up, your wit gets sharper. Sure. You can make funnier jokes with names. I feel like when you're a kid, you're punching down with the easiest thing possible.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter what their first name was. If you hear Potter, the kid maybe had glasses and a bowl cut, you know he's getting it every day.
When you're a kid, you're so short, it's not punching down, it's just punching parallel, straight across.
Good one.
Yeah, thanks.
This is what happens when you have a name like Josh.
Yeah, I just got, just Josh and that's what I got.
Yeah, exactly. That's a perfect example of what the hell people do with horrible names.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. But yeah, just don't name your kids like inanimate objects. Just everyone, and also like don't spell your kids' name weird. That's like if you want to saddle your kid with like their entire life of like psychological problems, you give them a simple name and then you spell it weird, because then they have to decide if they're the person who corrects people constantly about the spelling of their name, or if they just decide, doesn't matter how my name is spelled, I'll accept anything and I don't have an identity. It's one of the two. They're a bad person either way.
There's the extremes too, where like people put silent letters in names for no reason.
Oh yeah. Like
my name would be spelled like Ptoby, and I'd just be like, oh, my name's Toby. The P is silent, and then people just like, you're like an idiot. But even so, Josh, even with my, we'll call it floating on the surface of normal name in the grand scheme of things, there were times where like back in the days when roll call was always alphabetical, like first day of the school year, like, hey, these are all the A's, the B's, whatever. People would get to my name. So after everything being alphabetical order, they would get to my last name. And because my last name is also basically a first name, it would throw the teachers off every year. And they would say my last name is my first name, even though it was obviously in alphabetical order that they were just doing for the past 20 kids.
Amazing.
And along with that, because Tobias is, I guess, kind of weird to read when you read it out loud the first time in your life, maybe. Like
maybe. Yeah, sure.
When people would get to my last name and I knew my name was coming next, like I knew it was coming, they would go, and I'd just be like, yep, you just call me Toby. And they would be like, oh, so it's Tobias? Tobias? And like, nope, you can just call me Toby. Like I'd try to like get ahead of the problem.
And it just
never worked.
Yeah. And then you probably like had the opposite problem, like trying to get ahead of it, like drew people's attention to the fact that you were trying to get ahead of it.
It all goes downhill. And especially now with in working in technology or tech or being in IT, the amount of people, so usually like if you are Indian or I guess Indian descent or whatever, more times than not when I work with people from India or that general area, it seems like they use their last name as their first name sometimes, or their middle name as their first name in regards to like, call me this name.
Okay, yeah.
So there's lots of vendors who cold email me and call me my last name instead of my first name, because I guess it's just instinct at this point where they blend together and you just grab the wrong half of the name.
Interesting.
So I've actually started emailing these people back and calling them their last name. And I've been starting to insult them or mock them and say like, just try to point out what they're doing to me without like actively saying like, hey, you called me the wrong name.
Well, that's a good. I like the passive aggressive approach here. This is good.
Yeah. And I've actually started getting responses back from these people. And they like usually like the decent ones will laugh it off and be like, "Ho ho ho! No, you got me there. I should have read better. I'm sorry." And then I calm down and say, "No worries. Just leave me alone now." But these salespeople are so crazy. This one guy emailed us, like the place I work at got hacked and all sorts of issues. So the guy emailed us, or me, and was like, "Hey, I heard you work at so-and-so company. We heard you're looking for endpoint security things. A lot of people from your organization have been reaching out to us, and we found your name to contact someone back at." So they hit me with the wrong name. So I replied back, and I was like, "Hey, so-and-so, like, A, I have no control over what these people do. And I was like, B, if you were talking to these people already that this dynamic group's been reaching out to you, why would you cold call me out of all these people?" And he was like, "Oh, you got me there. So I really don't have any names from anybody. You're just the first name I found." And I was like, "Oh, okay." Well, I was like, "Well, I'm good. We don't need anything. Thank you." And then I thought he was going to drop it. But he emails me back and goes, "No, but seriously, like, do you know anyone that I can talk to about this?"
Oh no.
And I was like, he got a live one. His freaking cold call quota, he struck gold today.
Our boy is desperate. his manager's over him cracking a whip. You're saying a human replied and you're not going to follow up?
You got 3 responses in email and nothing happened out of this?
Oh man. I do think so. The name reversal thing, I'm not sure if India is one of them, but like Japan's a good example where like they will put last name first often because like surnames are so important, I guess, in the culture. So like, for example, like we would say like Naruto Uzumaki, but they would say Uzumaki Naruto. They would flip them, which makes it very confusing sometimes where you don't know if they flipped them or not yet to be like, wait, which one's this character's first name? At least I struggle with that sometimes.
You know too much.
Thank you. But I still know very little according to the people that watch the show.
And speaking of people that watch the show, Josh.
Uh-huh.
You have an important announcement you want to make.
I do have an important announcement. So we've been talking about it. We've been teasing it a little bit.
My hands are clean. That's all I'm going to say for now.
Your hands are as dirty as they come, Toby, because you and I are launching a Patreon coming up here. The air horns are going off in the distance. So Toby and Josh Industries will officially be launching our Patreon. We are currently looking at mid-April being around the launch, around the 12th maybe. And we are going to be providing additional content. Imagine me waving my fingers in the air when I say additional content.
Right into your holes.
So everything that we currently do for free on the internet will continue to be free. So we'll keep reviewing the current episodes of Geats, both in podcast and video form here, exactly as you're getting them. All that will stay the same. That won't go behind the Patreon or anything like that. The Patreon is all additional stuff. So we're going to have a couple tiers, I think, starting off. First is going to be probably around $1. And that'll be kind of like a tip jar, sort of, if you just want to support us. And you'll get Discord access. So we will have a Discord that we've set up now.
And I'm going to mod the shit out of all you people.
Yeah, all you kids just getting your asses modded. But in seriousness, Toby's been working very hard on getting the Discord set up. So, we're excited about having you guys in there to chat with. And we can, talk about the shows and talk about other random nonsense all day long, which will be fun.
I'm going to make a whole channel just for Kingdom Hearts 4 and Yakuza. So I hope everybody's ready. Like, you need to get in there, like, ground level with me.
And then it's just going to be Toby rambling to himself about Goofy.
I have gifts lined up out the ass.
And then our other tier, kind of our main tier for the Patreon, we're trying to keep it very reasonable as far as prices go. So we're thinking $3 for that tier. And that's going to be getting you some bonus content, both weekly and monthly bonus content. So the first big thing that you'll get every week is we're kind of looking at it as like sort of a watch and react type thing. So instead of a review of an episode, we're going to watch something together live and kind of interact over it and talk over it and make jokes over it, kind of in a Mystery Science Theater-esque way. And you will get those recordings where you'll get to watch the episode with us and hear the things that we have to say over it. And we might have a little bit of, discussion of the episode afterwards, but that's going to be kind of the main thing, is us watching and reacting it together. And the first thing we're going to watch together is Kamen Rider Black Suns. So we've been talking about that one. Toby's been very excited to check that one out and see how bloody and serious it is. So I
heard it was like a horror movie, but Kamen Rider. So that falls right into my main wheelhouse of watching gross, gory shit, and into my new baby wheelhouse, Kamen Rider things.
So that was one I knew I had to, hear Toby's actual reaction in real time as the craziness occurred, instead of just talking to him afterwards. So, that's what we're going to do. And like I said, those will be coming out every week. You guys will get access to download those videos so you can watch those too. And then monthly, for that Patreon tier, we're going to be doing an additional podcast that's kind of like a ramble cast. So it's basically the first 15 minutes of our regular shows just stretched out to probably an hour, where we kind of talk about anything non-Kamen Rider that is interesting us that particular month. So literally anything goes on that show, because Toby and I certainly branch off in some very weird, interesting directions.
You've heard the tangents in snippet form. Wait until you get the full download. Yeah, it's going to be wild.
wait until you spiral fully down this drain. see exactly where it goes.
For the cost of one coffee a month, you can have your life ruined by Josh and I on a regular basis.
Exactly. So yeah, Toby, I don't want to brag or anything, but 5 pieces of content every month for $3, that's a pretty good deal.
Yeah, if I could do math a little bit quicker, I could have made up some joke real quick. But here we are.
You listen, you go to Starbucks nowadays, you're not leaving there for $3. This is cheaper than a cup of coffee, for sure.
Yeah. Listen, I know your fancy buckles and drivers you're all buying are like $50 a buckle. But if you can just wait an extra like 2 weeks, one more paycheck to buy that buckle and give us some of that money instead, that would be fantastic.
Honestly, if you buy one less buckle and just throw it at us, you get like a year's long Patreon membership. That's all we're asking.
If you want us to yell Henshin or sing the song like Josh's fancy one does, or whatever you're missing out by not having that, you let us know. We'll do that too.
Oh my god! What if you and I did record just like custom sounds for a driver?
If this was the olden days when like text tones were a huge thing, where like people wanted their phone to yell Henshin, we could have like Toby and Josh yell Henshin as ringtones or text tones or God knows what bullshit.
Oh man! So yeah, that's the current plan. The reason that it isn't until mid-April is because we are spending the weeks building up to mid-April, catching up on Kamen Rider Geats. We've been talking about doing that, of course. We are recording 2 a week now in order to catch up. So that way, finally, when we get caught up, we'll be doing kind of the newest episode of Geats that had come out, and recording our current watch and react video at the same time each week when we kind of sit down to record. So that's our sort of behind the scenes update. I'm excited. I hope you guys are excited. I hope you guys sign up and check it out and hang out with us in the Discord and watch along with us in these videos. I think it'll be cool and fun, as the kids say.
If you think now is cool and fun, that will be cooler and funner. If you think now is boring, well, why are you even listening to the show?
If you think now is boring, go ahead and give us $3 and just make sure.
Sign up for a year just to be on the safe side.
Because maybe, Toby, the problem was they weren't getting enough of us. That's what I always wonder when I find something distasteful. Maybe I should try more.
I took a bite of this shit. This tasted gross. What if I just took one more just to be on the safe side?
One more bite for safety. That's the tagline of our new Patreon. So yeah, we'll be, of course, dropping further details and links and all that stuff in the coming weeks as we get closer to launch. But we wanted to talk about it now because we're pretty excited. Toby, anything else about our Patreon journey that's about to kick off?
The main thing is, I forget who said it, so you're not going to get full credit for this answer. But whoever said that if we ever started a Discord, or a patron and called people supporters, like the show. That was very wise. And I geared the entire Discord off of those titles.
That was Charlie from Texas.
Charlie from Texas, you horrible pun-making son of a bitch. I want you to know that was your greatest discovery of all time.
We did it.
and I've co-opted it, and now it's ours.
Charlie, I'm so proud of you. We'll never speak of it again. On the
back end, we'll never speak of it again. I will no longer give anybody credit for this, but you did good. You did good.
All right, now pretend like you didn't hear the last couple seconds of audio. God, Toby, we're so smart coming up with that supporter term. No one thought of that before you.
No one thought of that before me. Now I will be the DGP staff, and you will all be DGP supporters. Actually, I think that's how it works in the show, right?
Yeah, sure, definitely. Toby, speaking of people that support us, we got some emails we can dive into this week.
As long as there's no ideas in here, go for it.
Our first email comes in from our good friend Shade. So Shade writes in to give us an update. We talked about recently the Kamen Rider and Super Sentai concert. Shade actually wrote in to kind of give us the rundown on that concert as we were leading up to it. That concert has now happened. So Shade actually linked to the performance, like the video of the performance. I didn't watch the entire thing, but I skipped around through the different parts of it, and it's very cool. If I lived in Japan, I would absolutely be dragging my family to this, and I would be telling everyone it was because my kid wanted to go, but really it was because I wanted to go.
You would tell her to hold your buckle and pretend like she was wearing it, but just to make sure that she didn't break it or anything.
Exactly.
Like take really good care of Daddy's present.
hold it really tight. No, stop playing with it. You're gonna break it. Stop. But no, it's kind of awesome. Like the actual actors are there, like all the suits and stuff. And then they bring out a bunch of other Kamen Riders along the way. Like I found the spot where they did the Kamen Rider Geo theme song, which I love that song. It was very cool. The cover of it was really awesome. And anyway, it was neat. Yeah, it was a fun little video to check out. But in addition, the 4 members of Geats during this performance, as Shade tells us, they perform the short version of their character theme song, and that they sing themselves. So these songs have been written basically to like represent each of the characters. And the full versions of the songs are on the internet too. So Shade actually links those as well. And the songs are great. They're all really good, first of all. Like they kind of fit each of the characters. Like Neon's is sort of like, sounds like it's kind of from like a slice of life anime. It's all like happy and bubbly. But the thing to highlight is Kawa and his singing. He's very good. Like he sounds like a professional. It's incredible.
Does he sound like Chris Martin of Coldplay?
He sounds like if Chris Martin of Coldplay was any good. No, Kawa is actually like genuinely impressive. And then Kawa has some dance moves in the actual performance in the video too. So Kawa maybe has an idol life ahead of him.
Perfect. All those people seem super happy, so that's a real good ending for him.
They do, yeah. But it's so cool. I wish like TV shows over here they wrote original theme songs for each of the characters that the actors performed. Like that's such a neat little thing that doesn't need to happen, but I love that it did. And then Shade goes on to say, now I want to go into Gene's actor because oh boy, there's a lot to say. Gene's actor is a pretty famous young actor who is a super fan of Kamen Rider.
Aren't they all always?
He's had a few appearances in Kamen Rider even a decade ago. So Shade sends along some pictures. So Gene's actor first appeared in Kamen Rider O's, which was in 2010. He looks like a very young child. And then in 2021, he was in Superhero Senki, which is the I believe the Kamen Rider Saber and Zenkaiger crossover movie. And then, of course, he in 2023 now he's in Kamen Rider Geats. So like has been sort of orbiting Kamen Rider for like a decade, and then Shade links a video. There's a video of him unboxing his own transformation gun. So like he gets the toy of the thing that he uses in the show, and like dude is excited. Like the whole video is just like, so what's the word? Sugoi. That's what it is. That's like the Japanese word for like awesome or great. He just keeps saying that over and over again. That's the only thing I can understand in the video. But dude is pumped. So it's kind of cute when someone who's like a hyper fan gets to be on the shows. And then Shade finishes off to end off my section. I want to bring up something funny. The gif of Glare 2 doing the worm kind of blew up on Twitter.
Hell yeah.
So there's a Twitter account. If you guys don't know, that's a very good Twitter account to follow. It's at Toku Gifs, TOKUGIFS. And just post short gifs from various tokusatsu shows. And I've found lots of awesome things from that account and seen transformations from shows I haven't watched and stuff that have piqued my interest, and I've gone and checked them out further. So yeah, that's a little shout out, I guess, for Toku Gifs, the account. But that particular GIF got it went viral, as the kids say.
Yeah, I did see Kamen Rider was trending the other day on Twitter for some reason, and of course I didn't click on why because we are a little behind and I want things ruined. But I was actually excited that I was like, wow, this dumb thing that I watch now is somehow peaking the popularity charts. It might have been during the concert. It was actually probably during the concert. I think about
maybe it was the concert, or it might have been the release of Shin Kamen Rider. Have you heard about that?
No.
Okay.
Shin means new or something, doesn't it?
Yeah. So Shin. So it's coming in the kind of line of Shin Godzilla and then Shin Ultraman are two movies that were released, and they're sort of the like fresh new retelling of those properties.
The new 52 of Godzilla.
Kind of. So the next in those
the
lines,
ultimate of Ultraman.
You got it. So
the next one, comic series I don't keep going.
The next one is Shin Kamen Rider, which like just came out in the theaters, and like the trailer and stuff has been making the rounds on Twitter, and it's supposedly the movie's really awesome. The trailer is like very bloody and violent and very adult, and it looks just really badass. So people were definitely like gushing about how cool all of that looks. So it might have also been because of that.
Truth comes out.
Anxiously awaiting that getting translated into English. Did you watch Shin Godzilla at all?
No.
Yeah,
I'm really I'm really not good at watching any sort of media on a regular basis.
Cool. I'm glad we signed up for this.
Other than you and your ludicrous demands. People ask, like, Discord friends and stuff always say, like, oh, did you watch this movie? Did you watch this show? Did you watch this? And undoubtedly, my answer is always no, or haha, you know what I'm going to say, or the neutral face, which is my favorite, which means this was a silly question, friend.
Yeah, I'm sporadic. Like a lot of my entertainment is video games and wrestling and now tokusatsu. So like, yeah, the average movie I probably don't see, but I feel you. Yeah, we have very specific interests and we stay in those niches. That's fine.
I'm right in my fucking lane.
Our second email for this week comes in from Kieran. Hearing back from Kieran here. Kieran says, just to throw my 10 cents in, I pronounce Gaim like dime with a G, probably incorrectly. Because if you remember, Toby, I said Kamen Rider Game, which was not correct. It's Kamen Rider Gaim is what we're thinking. Or at least that's what Kieran's thinking. I forget what the other options even were. I said Game first. I think that Gaim was the correction that we got a while back. Anyway. Japanese words hard to translate to English was the is the takeaway here.
Good summary,
or at least very easy to translate in English. It's just I'm bad at it. One of those two. Kieran says, "You guys really need to catch up with Geats. So much crazy shit I need to talk about, but you're always behind, so I can't. But I will say, a new game means some updates to the opening as always. Also, the number of riders so far has hit the 20 mark." With still half the show left, how many will you be able to name by the end of the show? I'm going to say 3. We're going to be able to name 3 Kamen Riders by the end of the show. There's no way if he falls off and like stops being featured in the show, that you and I are going to remember the name Kamen Rider Naj Sparrow by the end.
We'll see, because I use my tricky mnemonic for remembering things. I will remember Pidgey.
What was the lady who could run really fast? What was she as the Kamen Rider?
Like her real name?
Yeah. Well, no. What's her Kamen Rider name?
Lopo?
That's good. You got her. All right. You still remember her.
You better leave that dead air in there. That's
oh, for sure. Yeah, I just don't think you and I are not good rememberers. I don't think we're gonna remember things.
No.
The fact that
names are hard enough for me as it is, as you all know.
Yeah.
And now we're taking an extra step where they disappear.
Like the fact that Kieran says we've already hit 20 kind of blows my mind, because I don't know that I can even picture 20, let alone name them that have come up so far. Like I know a lot of them are like background characters, and like, you know, remember the old man with the owl helmet? Like who was he? Who knows?
If they're a background character, they might as well be a plant at that point.
Exactly. And he was fairly featured. Like there were definitely some that were way less.
Kamen Rider Firefighter.
Yeah, whatever he was. Kieran goes on to say, one little thing I've been wondering is why Lopo, speaking of, got a new design for her helmet when every other edition has had repaints. Seems strange to make a new one for a few episodes, unless it's going to get reused at some point.
See, yeah. now this is the problem we fall into. He says, I can't talk to you guys about things because you're so far behind. And now he's pointing out things like, hey guys, do you think that if the helmet got repainted, I wonder if they'll use it again? Like,
see, I'm going to take Kieran at face value and say that wasn't a weird backwards hint.
I'm going to take Kieran as a nightmare person too. I see those tweets he sends me.
I think we might have to moderate you in this Discord. I don't know.
No one can. That's the best part. Who's modding the modders? Nobody.
Yeah, I don't know why. It'll be interesting to see if we get a Lopo back again. Yeah, obviously we haven't watched further, but I'm interested to see, like, do we get new Kamen Riders past this point? Like, are new people going to get introduced, or is everything going to be a weird Jyamato monster at this point on? Like, I don't know.
I hope it's like Kingdom Hearts, and at the end...
me too.
And at the end, all the old Kamen Riders get together and do one final attack. And then K-Walk can say, my friends are my power, and take down the evil Jyamato, and win the game finally. And then world peace in past times where it doesn't even matter for the future because they just laugh about it.
I hope Kamen Rider Daffy Duck shows up and saves the world.
That's the wrong property, you fucking idiot.
Wasn't it Daffy Duck, though, who was like the master wizard or something you were telling me?
No, Donald, you idiot. Disney.
Oh, Donald Duck.
Disney.
Okay. Wait, which one's Daffy Duck?
Warner Brothers.
Wait, what?
Daffy Duck is the black duck that fights Bugs Bunny all the time. Those are Warner Brothers properties.
I have to Google this.
Those are Looney Tunes. Tunes spelled like music because that was the joke. That's the pun of Looney Tunes.
I don't get it, I guess.
Because there used to be merry melodies and there's music with them. And they're wacky cartoons. So it's Looney Tunes, but it's not Toons like cartoon. It's Tunes like music. They're Looney Tunes.
I didn't know there used to be music with them. That's interesting. Thanks for that little tidbit, Toby.
I bet everyone can't wait until the Toby and Josh Ramble cast.
Like, oh, that's fascinating. Thank you. No, really, I'm just recovering from the mind blow that I just had of Daffy Duck and Donald Duck being different things.
There was a point 10 years ago where I taught Josh that Tails from Sonic's last name was Prower, and his first name is Miles. Because it's supposed to be like miles per hour because he's fast like Sonic.
Yeah.
And today we're reliving that memory.
No, it's worse than you explain. I grew up playing Sonic and I knew that his name was Miles Prower, and you had to explain to me that it was a pun for miles per hour because I had gone nearly 20 years at that point, knowing full well what his entire name was and not realizing that it was a pun.
See, I help people sometimes. That's the important takeaway. Sometimes I help.
I was just explaining that to my wife like 2 weeks ago. The idea that I had known his name for so long and didn't know it was a pun. One of my most shameful moments, I think. Just how did I not realize that? How did young Josh not realize that miles per hour meant miles per hour?
Yeah, even if you said it funny as a little kid, it probably made more sense.
Yeah, I guess this is true of a lot of things that I, that I watch and that I read, is that, I was a pretty solitary kid. I continue to be a pretty solitary adult. I don't say a lot of things out loud that I'm reading and watching. So then when you finally get to the point of saying them out loud, sometimes that can lead to revelations like puns.
Ooh.
Yeah. So, maybe if I'd had friends that I talked about Sonic with when I was a kid, I would have realized this earlier. It took into adulthood and making an internet friend to be taught this lesson, Toby.
Speaking of adulthood, let's talk about Kamen Rider.
Speaking of adulthood, everyone's going to die before this episode's over. All right. Well, we're here to talk about Kamen Rider Geats episode 25 today. Toby, this is the beginning of the Jyamato Grand Prix, the JGP, which is an awkward collection of letters.
It is, but along with this great beginning of the greatest Grand Prix of all time, we get a brand new hardcore opening to the episodes, where now it's JGP summaries and recaps instead of DGP summaries and recaps.
And we get it's the gardener, right, doing the intros.
Yeah, he's the new I guess he's the navigator at this point. I
guess he reminds me, especially in these intros, as like the crier at if there was a crier at an ICP show or something. He's just way too into it over his. I was like, and now I don't know.
He's the best hype man.
Yeah, because dude is on something. Yeah, it's not the old school Kawa being timid intro anymore. It's now the gardener just screaming. Now
explosions are going off. JGP.
Exactly. So Baroba's kicking off the JGP. She's got this ceremony going, and we realized basically, or I realized, so she blew up the world. She blew up the garden. That means there really aren't that many Jyamato left. is what we found out. The gardener.
I didn't even think about that being a thing until they point out okay, you're the last couple.
Yep.
You're really just about it.
Yeah, he's got 2 in pots, and then there's one of each type of Jyamato that are competing in the JGP. So before, when she blew it up and was kind of, giving the premise of the Jyamato Grand Prix, I was like, so there's just a million of them that are going to come constantly. It's no, it's going to be a limited number because the garden got blown up. Okay.
It's literally the same exact thing as the DGP now.
Yeah.
There's literally 4 or 5 Jyamato riders fighting against the opposite side now.
That was one of my big takeaways for this whole episode was you and I had kind of talked about okay, so do we reset and go back to a traditional Desire Grand Prix? And weirdly, this is that. Even though this is flipped and reversed, it's very back to basics because like you said, it is a handful of Jyamato riders. They have missions where they get points for various activities, and once in a while they get called back to base and then they get sent back out again. It's very much what we were doing at the very beginning, just now the Jyamato are doing it.
Yeah.
Which is clever. I like that.
And my other favorite part of the introduction was when Baroba was handing stuff out. She walked out with a bunch of bells for everybody to wear, which kind of ties into the episode. But all I could think of is the show is now The Bachelor. She's handing out roses to the final people she wants to come hang out with her and finish up the show.
She is. Yeah, she very much is. Yeah, the bells obviously in this episode tie into the Onis that are going to be at this festival. Obviously in, Japanese lore, taking a bell from an Oni, you get your wish granted. So clearly she's playing off that. And then that's of course what the parallel they make in the episode is as well. So other things about this intro that I loved. She picked out a new outfit for Buffa, because obviously he can't roll around in his Desire Grand Prix outfit anymore. And the outfit that she's assembled for him is it's something. It's like a leather jacket, a white like button-up shirt, and then like a pseudo skirt situation going on. Like I don't really even know what to describe the pants as, but he is looking very like gothic chic.
And he even like, I'll call it like redid his hair, Danny. Like his haircut looks different and everything. He has like,
it does, yeah. He has a whole different vibe now.
Some swoops, some hair swoops in the front.
He's looking good. He's looking very evil. He's very, very good, very evil.
Like he is the ace of the bad guys. He looks very classy out in his real world clothes. He's always dapper and presenting himself well. And
that's true. Yeah, he is. The parallel is there for sure. And the other thing I liked about sort of the opening ceremony is we get an idea of what the points are that the Jyamato can win. So I'll run down the points here. So you get 1,000 points for ruining a life. You get 500 points for ruining a home. You get 300 points for ruining a dream. You get 200 points for ruining health. And then we find out later in the episode, 10,000 points for like taking out a Kamen Rider. So those
basically
are
the way to win
values.
is to get rid of the people in your way of her getting access to the time goddess.
Yep. Because, Toby, it becomes kind of a sticking point in this episode. So I think it's going to come up in future episodes. Both Ace and Buffa point out that she doesn't have the ability to recreate worlds yet. Like she's created the game such that the game ends when they take out the producer and they get his belt, which then will give her the ability to recreate worlds. But she doesn't have it yet. Ace calls it like putting the cart before the horse. So I think there's going to be shenanigans later on where that is important in some way. Like someone wins, but then she doesn't get the belt, and then they turn on her or something like that. I'm calling that now.
That's probably a wise call.
Let's see. So Buffa in this episode gets courted, we'll say, by one of the Jyamato. So there's a Jyamato who can transform into Buffa's dead friend. If you remember, the Buffa's whole inciting event for why he wants all Kamen Riders to die is because Kamen Riders killed his friend. He saw it. He joined the Desire Grand Prix to avenge his friend. So now he's got this Jyamato coming up, looking like his dead friend, and has all the memories of his dead friend as well, which is pretty creepy, we'll say. And Daiichi kind of continues to egg this on the whole time. He's like, "Oh, they've started acquiring the knowledge of and memories from humans, not just their looks." And
this is wonderful.
Yeah, this is very, very cool. I love Daiichi's just purely scientific. Like this is pretty neat how this is working, and not at all horrified that monsters are taking over human memories. Daiichi at this point also says that he can't enter the Jyamato Grand Prix because he's not a Jyamato. So sucks to be him, I guess.
Unlike Buffa, who's on his way.
Yeah, Buffa continually getting closer and closer. Buffa, for his part, continues to not care whether he becomes Desire God or Jyamato God. He's just working on killing Kamen Riders. That's really all he wants to do.
And that, Josh, rolls into the most exciting thing. I started watching the dumb intros.
Yeah.
Because it seems like the intros changed. So I've been told.
Yes, that is the information we've given you multiple times. Yep.
So I've gone against my original stance of I'm going to skip the intros. And I started watching them because I was like, oh, this is DGP or JGP. This could be cool and different. And lo and behold, I think it's different now. It's at least different since the last time I watched it.
It is different now. They have
the evil people like DGP load-in screens as well.
Yep. They're featuring the bad guys now. Thanks for that up-to-date recap, Toby.
The people needed to know. I'm all in.
Currently in the show, we are setting up for a festival, Toby. It's a little small town. It seems like they're having a little festival. And a little boy runs up. He's got some flowers, and he's kind of a featured character here for a little bit. And basically, the boy has flowers. A man stops him and asks, basically, "Are you on your way to visit your mom?" And the kid says, "Yes." And the kid says, basically, like, "If I take a bell from the Oni in the festival, does that mean my mom will come home?" And at this point, I'm wondering, like, is the mom dead? Like, is he taking flowers to her grave or something? And the adult instantly says, like, yes, of course. Like, if you get a bell from an Oni, she's coming home. And I was like, that feels really irresponsible.
It's extremely irresponsible. I mean, obviously, they have more knowledge of the mom situation.
Sure.
And it remotely pays off later in a different way. But, like, all I could think of was, like, at first, even though I know it seemed like a new scene, I was like, did Geats make this wish as a little kid? Like, I couldn't tell if it was like actual Geats' backstory of like, I'm gonna try to figure out, like, maybe this is the beginning of him trying to find his mom. But I feel like most of the kid's story ties in with Geats and trying to find his mom.
Yeah.
Or get answers for his mom, I guess is more.
Definitely parallels. But I was like, oh man, maybe pump the brakes on telling him that, like, all the horrible things going on in his life are gonna get solved if he just takes a bell off an Oni, which is clearly a thing that he's gonna be able to do because you've set this up as a kid's carnival. While they're having this conversation, Jyamato show up. Of course, the Jyamatos you talked about, they have their bells on as well. So the kid thinks they're the Oni. You're like, oh, is that the Oni? Like, this is tougher than I thought it was going to be.
This looks intense.
And the Jyamato just start trying to mess things up. Basically, they're just kind of destroying things and pushing people around.
Points for ruining dreams and lives and buildings, and destroying health.
Exactly. So they're attempting to do all those things. We get to see, this is again the unhinged nature of the gardener. There's a scene right now where Baroba and the gardener are just laughing with each other, and it is incredible. Just like that scene, the two of them, because they both have very distinct laughs, and they're both unlike any human would ever laugh in real life ever, and happening at the same time in a scene felt like a fever dream. Then we finally, Toby, get our first interaction with the Kamen Riders. So we are in the lounge, the Kamen Rider lounge, and Sumi tells the riders that the Jyamato have appeared, and Sumi is just straight up done with the game master.
Yeah, my note was she's taking no more jokes or no more nonsense. Yeah. She's like, this is all fucking stupid. What the hell is going on now?
Every time he says something, she just glares at him, just like, would you shut up? I'm so done with you. He, like, Keiwa basically, it says like, oh, we got to go do something. Like, he doesn't matter if it's not part of the DGP, and the game master like pretends to cry about it. Like, oh my god, he's so selfless, and like he pretends to cry.
This is a non-fiction documentary now.
Yeah, exactly. And she tells him, like, stop with his crocodile tears. You cared about only about the drama before all this. So she just calls him on his bullshit. He straightens up and tells him to go fetch the driver. And then I loved this part. All the riders kind of like defy him, sort of. So like Ace says, like, you didn't have to tell us. And when Keiwa walks by, I'm like, straightens his jacket. That was great. I love that the game master is still around, despite the fact that he's already messed up a lot, and he doesn't, like, they're not running a game, so he doesn't have a job right now. Like,
he's just there.
He's just there. He's just there, like, being annoying, and everyone has decided they're gonna let him know how annoying they think he is. Then, of course, we head back to the festival. The riders show up. The kid that we saw earlier kind of hides, and fighting ensues. And Buffa shows up as well. And this is where we find out that Buffa gets points off the Kamen Riders, and that's where that 10,000 point value comes from. And then this is a big revelation for some reason for everybody, but Buffa points out that in the Jyamato Grand Prix, the Kamen Riders are the bad guys, Toby. Whoa.
That was one of my notes, because like Keiwa is the one that points it out, like, yeah. Or he's the one that has the out loud acknowledging statement of, wait, we're the enemy in the JGP. And all I could think of was like, how can you be so actually stupid for that not to click until that point?
Incredible, right? Like, just like, that was clearly the whole premise. This is how this works. Like, just, oh, poor Keiwa.
And this is like this Rumble, the first of many, is one of the few times where like I actually feel like the Kamen Riders, like the hero ones, like actually get beat up more so than do the beating up.
Yep.
Like there actually seem to be like the loser jyamato, where they're the ones that are actually like getting gunned for and losing versus the normal.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. I wrote the jyamato are tough. The Kamen Riders are getting beaten up. That then part 1 is over, saved by the bell, because the like they kind of call it and call the Kamen Riders all back home. They stop fighting, or call the jyamato rather back home. They all stop fighting. But yeah, if they didn't do that, like the Kamen Riders were losing hard. They were doing some kind of cool stuff, like Neon turns into the zombie beat version of herself. She has the zombie buckle and the beat buckle.
The outfit or the armor looks fantastic.
Yep.
Like it's tons of colors and chainsaw swords flying around and everything.
Yeah, the combo's really cool. She does this neat sword trick where she like flips the sword and like catches it sort of by its like pump handle kind of, and then like uses that to like grind it into one of the jyamato. So like cool stuff was happening, but overall, yeah, the Kamen Riders were getting just mutilated in this battle. So the jyamato have continued, as we've seen, go on, like get stronger as they've continued to evolve. And yeah, now we're at the point where they're kind of an even match for the riders for sure. While the game's kind of ending here, Keiwa and Neon are questioning Buffa, like, why are you doing this? Why are you in the JGP? And Ace kind of cuts him off and says, like, don't bother talking to him.
This never goes anywhere.
So, which is funny because like he knows that he's tried before and like really tried to get to Buffa, but they don't know that. So he's speaking from a point of experience, and they just think he's like, writing Buffa off instantly.
Yeah.
I thought it was cute too that Keiwa and Neon worked to rebuild the festival after the fighting. They like instantly pitch in and start picking stuff up. It was very cute.
He's a good boy. He is a good boy.
Keiwa is best boy. We get a little insight into the world of the future. Gene shows up. Gene basically talks about, this is all so exciting. And he explains that in the future, you live a life that's kind of all by design. Like your personality, your appearance, your family, your lover, your career, they're all put together like a blueprint. Everything is predetermined. Everything's ideal. Even your lifespan is predetermined. So there's not like big shakeups as you're moving through life. So he, of course, is bored by that. And I think Ace is like, oh, that sounds pretty cool.
That's why he loves Ace, because Ace makes him feel alive with his crazy moves and fox-like attitude. And
he wishes that he could be Ace for sure and decide some things on his own. We also find out that Kekura, the frog guy, doesn't know what a festival is. He's like asking Keiwa, like, oh, what was that you were helping pick up? Keiwa's like, a festival? And Kekura has to explain, like, yeah, I don't know what a festival is. Like, do you know everything about, ancient Greece? No? Okay. Well, there you go.
It does make sense. Like all things put together, that does make sense. Like, obviously, Keiwa forgets this is the future, but not, or the past, but not. So, like, relatively, it does all check out.
Yeah. Then we get maybe my favorite scene of the episode. So Neon is kind of standing around. She's like looking at a sign about the festival coming up. Two fans see her and say like, oh my God, it's Neon from Neon TV. They approach her and kind of act a little weird. They're like, like they ask her out and then kind of run away in embarrassment. But she gets like excited about being recognized kind of. And then Kyun, her sponsor, she doesn't know it yet, shows up and he says, ugh, getting so excited over a bit of flattery. That's why you're such a princess.
So he keeps doing the pickup artist moves on her, I feel
he's negging her hardcore. Yeah.
Yes. I'm going to get so mad if, I'm not going to say she has to win to find love. If her sponsor ends up being her boyfriend after all this, I'm going to be very pissed off at the show.
Yeah,
it seems the worst cop out ever.
Yeah, if that is the happily ever after for Neon's character, I'm going to riot. unless there's some crazy redemption arc for this guy where he realizes that this is just not the way to have gone about things or something. Like, unless something changes, yeah, I'm not into this weird negging thing that he's doing for her, where he's like, in his letters to her, he's like, super flowery and I just want you to be happy, and then he sees her in person and he's like, oh, I'm getting kind of fat, huh? Just not cool, bro.
And then I decided that he looks like Jonathan from Stranger Things, like the creepy older brother that turned into a burn and everything else. And like her sponsor looks creepy too. I don't know if he's necessarily like a creepier version of Jonathan, but he's like on par with like the weird like dead stare and just like awkward like, yo.
Yeah. The way he holds himself too, he's always pursing his lips to like, look extra fashionable clearly. And it's just, yeah, it's like an extra like vapid glare he gives because of that is extra good. Neon says, I wish the Oni would fix your wormy, twisted personality. And then his comeback is, I'd rather they fix your cheeky daikon-like personality. And a daikon, if you're not aware, is a radish.
I was not aware.
Personality like
I
a
thought
radish.
It was an animal, so I was like, okay, whatever. I didn't bother looking things up because I'm not going to do that. But I'm glad that we clarified that it's a radish.
Yeah, it's just, you have the personality of a radish. He walks off and says, "You'll never find true love like that."
And that's when I wrote down my note of, if that's the ending, that's when I was going to get mad, because I was like, that's a really dumb thing to call out right now.
Yep. He calls it out, but then that also made Neon realize that, like, wait, how does he know about my wish? So she's maybe starting to put two and two together, that this guy she keeps running into knows more about her than he's letting on. So yeah, we'll see when she finds out the true nature of Kiyun.
Well, then the conversation is going to be, why are you always so mean to me whenever you see me? Why do you write me nice letters? And he's going to have to say, like, I've been just trying to motivate you and make you see the world for what it is, and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, I see the path to that being the answer, and I agree with you. They have a long road to go before I accept that as an okay story. Because yeah, I'm not into him right now. Also, he's like, he's from the future. That's basically too old for her.
That's true. I completely barring that part. That is true.
We get a really interesting scene next. I think this is maybe the biggest revelation from this episode. So the assistant producer is reporting to the producer and Neon's dad that the quote jyamato recognition index is now over 10%. So what that means is that 1 in 10 people in the world know about the jyamato now, which I feel like is a very funny, like a funny thing to measure, because like, if monsters appear in the world and like start destroying cities or a city, even if it's a city across the world, you think you'd hear about it, right? Like that's pretty big news.
Yeah, like from us in the U.S. here, if tomorrow on the news are like, hey, there's a bunch of guys in suits blowing up buildings in Japan.
Yeah,
like I'm pretty sure that would make it here pretty quick.
Like the idea that like 10% of a population could know about something that huge, but the other 90 don't, is just a hilariously fascinating like hand wave about all this. But nonetheless, that's what they're currently measuring. And basically, Neon's dad says, if you don't recreate the world soon, this will be a problem. I can only suppress the government and police so much. So that's an interesting little tidbit. Excuse me. That he's doing some work to basically keep the government and the police and other organizations out of the business of the Desire Grand Prix.
And he got to make the true serial killer face when he said it.
Boy,
he's really playing up his horror movie like appearance and got to make the angriest looking face ever.
So he talks about like, how are you going to handle this? How are you going to handle this? And keeps kind of pressuring the producer. And then finally he realizes, and he says, wait, are you planning on withdrawing from our world? Neon hasn't gained her wish yet. So we were kind of discussing, I think last episode, like, what does it mean recreating the world? Are there different realities and different sort of branches of reality where they can sort of jump in and out of? And that kind of sounded like it to me. Like, withdrawing from our world indicates like they're just gonna move on to a new reality. Like that's what he's worried about. But he of course wants them to stick around until Neon gets her wish. Then the producer sort of comes at him like, well, why don't you show your daughter some true love? And then he said, the daughter you won using a goddess's power. Boom, boom, boom.
Yeah, that was amazing. That was the craziest thing. Like that explains why Neon's so protected. Because she's literally a present from God.
Yep. She's a present from God, and her father was a previous participant in the DGP. And wished for a daughter. And explains, of course, why he knows everything about the game and completely versed in it and like completely ready for her to participate because he did. So, yeah, that's fascinating. I love that little wrinkle. And it's fun too, at least seeing the producer like have some teeth in his interactions. Like even when he's saying things that aren't good or like are aggressive towards people, he continues to stay kind of like calm and collected. So for him to like get in Neon's dad's face was like, whoa, okay.
This is serious business when the game falls apart.
At this point, Toby, we find out that the little boy's mom isn't dead. She's in the hospital. He tells that to Ace. So not as bad as I thought originally, but still not great for that guy to be like, yeah, she'll for sure come home, kiddo.
Yeah, she's just sleeping. She's fine.
Yeah, mommy's just sleeping 6 feet under. Buffa and his dead friend Jyamato continue to have a little talk. We find out this time that the dead friend has a scar that matches the dead friend. So, hey, even more, connections to your dead friend. And he and Buffa kind of reminisce about when they would get in fights when they were younger.
At least 5 of the 8 or 9 Yakuza games I've played have had this exact scene in the game, where the 2 Yakuza or ex-Yakuza members reflect upon how they found each other and became friends. And it's almost always, we used to pick fights a lot and we picked the wrong person or the right person or whatever, however it may have played out.
Yeah, that's not an experience I've personally had. I used to get in a whole bunch of fights and it was with you and that's why we're such good friends. Like, no, if I got in a whole lot of fights, I'd be dead. There's no way I'm getting hit in the face that much. But yeah, that totally, it was straight out of a Yakuza game. And then Buffa and Baroba are chatting, and Buffa asks for basically, special treatment from Baroba, and she says that she can set up a secret mission for him. She can't give him a special item directly, but she can set up a secret mission for him to clear.
I like how they play by the proper rules.
Yes.
Still. And like the fact that it's even like, okay, we're going to call this a secret mission. And I'm telling you that there will be a secret mission, but you still have to figure out what it is.
Well, she doesn't want the other Jyamato to be mad at her. It's got to be on the up and up. Yeah, that's a hilarious conceit, but it's all, it's all according to the rules that I made up.
As we go, just like the show always does.
Completely as we go. Part 2 begins. The festival is once again kind of in trouble, being attacked. At this point, Buffa and his buddy Jyamato are pretty tight. Like they're sticking together, and they encounter Geats. The friend Jyamato basically says, "Oh, it's just Geats. We have the upper hand," and they decide to work together. But Gene shows up, and Gene kind of steps in to fight alongside Geats. Gene is like pretty excited about fighting alongside him and stuff. Like Geats, I don't know, maybe not quite as much, but Geats and Buffa start fighting, of course, and then Buffa clears his secret mission. His secret mission was basically land a point blank hit.
And since Buffa's bullheaded and charges in all the time, probably the easiest secret mission that was ever set up for somebody.
Yep, pretty straightforward. As long as Buffa, and Buffa, of course, too, like works with a sword. So yeah, point blank hit gonna be pretty easy to do since he's gonna be in close already. Buffa gets the raising buckle, the one that is in 2 pieces. You get the sword with it, and then you have to kind of power the sword up in order to take the second half of the buckle off the sword. Buffa does the most
Buffa looks pretty cool too.
Yes.
Before he tells his badass thing, he basically gets like more futuristic looking armor. Like he looks more like Gene-ish, but like he has a orange and blue visor. Just the whole thing just looks cool.
Yeah, it's the buckle that we've seen on like Ace and Kawa before. Like it's that same sort of like jet armor, but it looks very cool on Buffa. It looks awesome on him. And even cooler, I thought, was he, to power up the sword, like Kawa and Ace when they were using it, did regular fighting, took out Jyamato. Buffa doesn't have any time for that. He just cuts himself to power it all the way up and then takes it right off the sword. Like, I'm not going to bother with trying to fight with this thing. I'm just going to inflict pain on myself because that's my life now, apparently.
And my generic favorite part of all this. So we find out that the game that I guess we'll call it the game, the jyamato are really playing they're all playing tato drums, right? That's what those are called?
Yeah.
So they're all playing the drums and they're building these weird little like pillar plant arm looking things. And they have to build all the pillars of plant arms to basically like wipe the world or wipe the area and kill all the Kamen Riders and stuff. But all I could see in those pictures, because they're playing like they have 2 drums in front of them and one hand stick per drum. So one of my favorite bands, at least in the past, Slipknot, had like 3 members that played trash can drums and just beat the shit out of like the trash cans. And all I could see was the Slipknot guy playing or taiko drums.
Every time you tell me something about Slipknot, it sounds crazier and crazier, and I never know if it's true or not. like I had 3 people playing the trash can drums. Like, yeah, that seems reasonable, but also could be a complete lie, and I would have no way of checking that.
Trust me, Josh. Of all things that I could tell you, they play trash can drums.
Well, this episode ends with Buffa kind of in mid attack on Geats. He's about to land this huge blow coming in with his new jet armor. And Geats looks like he's about to die by Buffa's hand. I thought it was... Oh, thanks for the gif of the trash can drums. Yeah, Slipknot's a weird band, Toby. That's just a weird band. All right, that ends our first taste of the Jyamato Grand Prix. Toby, what do you think about the JGP?
I think it's just about as good as the DGP.
Yeah, like I was saying, it really is. It's a reset back to basics, which I was not expecting. But it very much is like group of riders coming in, trying to get points, the opposing party trying to stop them. Well, that's still pretty much there.
We have scores, we have secret missions, we have the game master, we have all the navigator, all the things.
Yeah. I also really I think it's very funny, like they've slowed Buffa's conversion into full Jyamato for plot's sake. Like at this point, like his hands has some Jyamato stuff on it, but he's mostly human. Transformations don't really cause him pain anymore. He's pretty much just like an extra powered up Kamen Rider again. Like I thought he was gonna become like grotesque, like some like insane half person, half Jyamato thing. But no, he's pretty good at this point.
At worst, he's just kind of turning green.
Yeah, he's turning a little green on his hand. Other than that, he's just wearing fashionable clothes and doing his own thing. It's pretty great. Turns out becoming a Jyamato not that bad overall. Yeah,
seems cool.
All right, well, that's gonna do it for us for this episode. Once again, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for coming along on our review. If you want to check out all of our past episodes, you can do that in podcast form. Just search for the Kamen Riders in your favorite podcast app. Or you can watch the video versions of the show. You can go to KamenRiderSucks.com to go straight to the playlist of those. Of course, you can keep up with us in our non-Kamen Rider day-to-day activities. Toby, where can the people find you?
On Twitter, it's at Life of Tobes. And on YouTube, it's Tobes Plays, where video games are played.
I thought it was where Tobes are played, based on the name. But
I get played by the games.
That's true.
Sometimes they're too hard.
You can find me, yes, on Twitter and Tumblr. I am at PrettyDeeceJosh in both places. So we'll be back next week for Kamen Rider Geats episode 26. We'll pick up on this big cliffhanger of will Geats die or will he won't. I'm pretty sure he won't die. And we'll see you then. Until next week, have a great one, everybody. Peace.
taking shots at the enemy. I'm gonna make it to the top, leave a legacy. If I got something to say, you better let me speak. Turn it up a new degree, bitch, you ain't seen anything. I pop off with the new rock, electron